Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is HD Starcraft, and I'm here for Game 3 between Team Millennium and Team Liquid from the Team Story Cup. And it's time for Dayshi to go up against the toughest opponent yet. It looks like Team Liquid has decided to throw out their big guns player. It is LiquidTaeja. And he is going to be the blue Terran player in the top left-hand corner of the map, Belshir Vestige. His opponent is going to be in the bottom right-hand corner, and of course it is Dayshi. Man, this is going to be, I think his toughest matchup yet. To take out LiquidTaeja would be akin to, like, I don't know, back in Brood War days, if you were like a B teamer taking out Flash or something like that. This is going to be really difficult, I think, for Dayshi to do, but it's not impossible. It is going to be a Terran versus Terran, which really exciting for me because this is my first time, I think, casting a TvT in Heart of the Swarm. So this will be really cool. I believe it's my first time casting a TvT. I could be wrong. Anyways, TvT in Heart of the Swarm is pretty similar actually to how it was, I think, in Wings of Liberty, at least with regards to opening strategies. You'll still see a lot of quick expansions. You'll see 1-1-1s into the starport to take control of the skies. So we'll see what happens here in this game, but keep in mind that I think the openings in TvT haven't differentiated too much. But we'll see what happens. I do think that in the late game nowadays, you can see some pretty sick Terran versus Terrans, with the battle cruisers and whatnot. They can make a bit of an appearance. But anyways, we'll see what happens here. Taeja, very excited to see how he plays this game out. It's not every day that you get to see a player of his caliber here competing. He's pretty much considered to be one of the best, if not the best, players in the world, and it looks like he's going to go for a quick refinery here and try to obviously go for a very fast factory. I think that he's probably going to open up with a 1-1-1 based on how quick his gas was coming down here, but he could surprise me and go with a quick factory and try to pump out a couple of Hellions and then expand as well. Meantime, Dayshi's also going for a similar build as well. I do think on this map, it is very good to go for quick air. Air control on this map, I think, is very strong because if you look in the middle of the map, you have a lot of these crevices and cracks and whatnot, and air units can fly through these and over these, whereas not Zerg units, but ground units might have a little bit more difficulty. Also, the perimeter of the map is where all the expansions are, so air control becomes very good to have, because you can drop from one location to the next, and then onwards to the next, and it's very good, I think, strategy to have early Vikings, early medevacs, something like that sort. It looks like Taeja is going to go for an expansion, so I do apologize as my prediction was off, but he is going to go for an expansion here, and he's adding on a reactor as well. Dayshi is the one who's going to be going for a quick starport, as he went for the fast gas as well, and it looks like he's going to go for the starport here now. He doesn't have a tech lab building on the factory, which means to me that he's not planning to go for Banshees, but probably gonna go for either an early Viking, or I think he's gonna go for a medevac here and try to drop Marines and Hellions. I think that's what he's gonna go for here. He's already starting to pump out Hellions right now, and he was able to get rid of that scouting SCV at the ramp, which means obviously Taeja's gonna have no clue what's coming unless he wants to go ahead and waste a comsat. And it looks like right now both players still trying to find out where, at least Dayshi's trying to find out where his opponent has spawned. Taeja already knows, and it looks like he is going to be building a starport of his own. If in fact he's going to be combating medevacs, having a starport to pump out a few Vikings is going to be immensely helpful. Vikings just for defensive air control in order to prevent those medevacs from flying into his airspace and start to unload unfriendly units. And in fact, that's exactly what Dayshi's going to do here. He's got 7 Marines loaded up. Don't forget, Ignite Afterburners is a very powerful side effect here. New for medevacs in Heart of the Swarm. It allows you to drop at a much faster frequency. Meanwhile, that Reaper trying to boost away from those Hellions, but the Hellions were just a bit speedier with their range. And here comes that medevac. I think what Dayshi could do is unload 8 Marines into this little shadow here, and then bring the Hellions in as well. We'll see if he decides to do that. That would be pretty devastating. TvT has no idea there's a medevac inbound, but he sees it now. He sees it with the supply depot, and it looks like all these Hellions are going to come back in, and these Marines are in so much trouble. I think Dayshi would probably be best suited to get out of here rather than stay and fight, but he is going to try to stay. No, and he brings back 3 more Hellions. That's exactly what I thought he was going to do. Dropping in a huge army into the Terran main base, and TvT in a bit of trouble here. He needs reinforcements, and he needs them now. The SCVs are going to have to scatter to get out of harm's way, unless, and if TvT doesn't pull him out of harm's way, he could just straight up lose this game. He's already lost 3 SCVs. The Hellions still trying to get more damage done. The Viking has landed on the ground to assist in the ground defense. Meanwhile, there's actually a Viking above the natural expansion. Dayshi could have landed that and done a ton of damage earlier on. Now finally lands it. But I think it was a missed opportunity there. And overall, you know, TvT, he did lose, you know, 5 SCVs, but considering how much Dayshi committed to that attack, I think TvT lost the minimum there. I think TvT could have easily lost his entire SCV line, at least certainly more than 5 SCVs, especially if Dayshi had landed this Viking behind the natural earlier on. So I think Dayshi right there might have lost more than TvT did. I'm looking at the resources lost tab, and it doesn't indicate that. It seems to be pretty close, 950 to 950. But I'm looking at the supplies, and TvT is ahead by 8 supply right now. Probably because he does have an expansion. At least he had it sooner than Dayshi did. And so I think TvT is winning this game right now. Surprise, surprise. But he's going to come in with this attack, and he's going to be able to burn up some Hellions. But there are Widow Mines here, and the mines are just devastating. They take out most of the Hellions, do a ton of damage to the rest. And it looks like TvT will probably get a few SCV kills here. Just a bit of a revenge attack, but in a way I feel like Dayshi came out ahead there. He basically traded 2 SCVs to kill off 5 Hellions or so, so not a bad trade for Dayshi, and exactly what he needed, I think, to try to climb back into this game. Right now he's adding on additional factories. It looks like he's going to switch into mass mech here. He's already got Hellbats being produced as well. Hellbats actually are a huge change in the matchup for Terran versus Terran. It's kind of like their new Marauder, but a mech version of the Marauder, if you will. It is very good in TvT, and TvT nowadays has become much more of a mech-based game rather than a bio versus bio-based game, in my opinion, in the late game at least. Back in the days, you'd see almost exclusively bio versus bio, and then a little bit of bio mech towards the end of Wings of Liberty, and some players obviously experimenting with mass mech as well. But I think in Heart of the Storm nowadays, mech is very, very popular. More popular than it was in Wings of Liberty. So anyways, we'll see what happens. But TvT here is, he does have a Raven. I believe I saw a Raven coming out of the starport. And yeah, there's Banshees now coming out, but I'm not too sure where the Raven is. I know there's one on the map somewhere. There it is. So it's actually, that's actually Dayshi's Raven. So I do apologize. It is Dayshi's Raven. He's the one who's building Ravens right now to go along with his mech forces. And TvT, in the meantime, is trying to go for Banshees. And he's also expanding at the same time right now to the pocket expansion. So he's about to go up for a 3rd base, and he's also keeping a bit of a contain over Dayshi's army. But Dayshi is going to try to circumvent the contain by going for a drop here. He's got a medevac loaded with 2 Hellbats, which can do a lot of damage. We'll see what happens. This Banshee is going to try to fly in through the back of the natural, but immediately encounters a squadron of Vikings and is taken out. Now we'll see what these Hellbats can do. A couple of Hellbats drop behind an SCV line, a drone line, or a probe line can take out workers very quickly. And I think we're about to see just that, especially since some of these SCVs are already weakened. And Dayshi gets inside the main base. TvT is not pulling the SCVs out. Oh, mismanagement of his forces. And he loses 15 workers total down this game. Dayshi with a brilliant attack. And is he going to get the medevac out? Oh, it's debris falling down on the ground. If debris could kill 4 or 5 of these SCVs, would be dead as well, but it cannot. So I guess TvT breathing a sigh of relief right there that the physics engine isn't that realistic. But that was pretty funny how it just kind of died with that last Viking shot. Pin a medal for that Viking pilot right there. And TvT, I think, doing a good job killing off that medevac, because if he hadn't, it would have certainly come back to harass his expansions more and more towards this game as this game continues to unfold. Meanwhile, though, it looks like Dayshi now preparing to push out with most of his army, He has a couple of Widow Mines to boot with his Hellbats as well. I'm not too sure where his Raven is. It looks like the Hellions for TvT are going to leak on by. They're going to find the 3rd expansion completely bare and naked. And TvT is going to take out a couple of SCVs. Big hit right there for TvT, and basically just a hit and run. Great job, but he's got to pull his Hellions back now because the brunt of the Terran army is now coming in for Dayshi, preparing to make an attack. He is, and you know, I think his army might just be a little bit bigger than TvT's, probably because TvT's armies are split in half right now. Some of his Hellions are on the right-hand side, and the majority of his army is, I guess, over here at defending the Terran homeland. But in fact, I think Dayshi might be the one who has to be careful here because he could get pincered in from 2 different angles. It looks like the Raven is going to launch a Seeker missile, but the Hellbat pulls away from the rest of the army. Very intelligent right now. And it looks like Dayshi trying to burrow his Widow Mines down, but they do not have drilling claws, so they can't get underground in time. And the Hellions also coming around to pick off the reinforcements. And Dayshi in a lot of trouble. He isn't even able to kill off that tank with 1 HP. And Dayshi overcommitting to this attack. TvT, the brilliant strategist, the Terran versus Terran mastermind, holds off the attack. And I mean, when you win a battle like that, the game is, you know, the game just kind of, everything falls in place for you, especially if you're TvT. So we'll see what happens here, but I think it would take a colossal mistake here on TvT's part to just throw away this game. But we'll see. You know, Dayshi does have the advantage of being able to fall back and reinforce. He's got, you know, travel time that that TvT has to work with, and Dayshi does. You know, you're Terran, and Terran can defend very easily. They can turtle up on the high ground and make it very hard for an opponent to push, as we just saw, you know, Dayshi do against TvT. Now TvT's trying to come in and attack here, and he's going to clump up on that ramp. I don't think this is the best idea for TvT. Dayshi is bringing in all of his SCVs, everything he's got, trying to repair that missile turret. He keeps it alive, and Dayshi crushes TvT's attack force. I mean, just absolutely crushes it. And that's the advantage of being Terran. That's the advantage of having a defensive stronghold. And Comsat comes out from TvT just like, what was back there? Just trying to make sure how many forces you had, and it's like, oh, you had a couple more siege tanks, okay. But that was a brilliant hold by Dayshi, because now with that hold complete, I think Dayshi has taken a lead in this game. He's got the SCV lead as well, so things are looking bright for the Millennium's Terran player right here. TvT does have another expansion coming down, and he is continuing to push once again, realizing that, hey, the key to winning here is constant aggression. He takes out the Raven, and that's pretty huge. Without a Raven for, you know, PDDs, you can't really stop the onslaught of Vikings. If you find yourself into a Viking on Viking war. And TvT right now checking for the 4th expansion, doesn't see one, so he knows he's got the expansion lead, or so he thinks, because Dayshi is actually going for a ninja in the top right hand corner. Meanwhile, these Vikings flying in as an expensive version of a scout. Not too sure what they're doing, but obviously trying to figure out what's going on inside the main base. And if they actually go over to the top right hand corner, they will find this ninja expansion that Dayshi has so mischievously placed. And we'll see if, you know, that goes on undetected. If Daishi's able to keep this expansion alive, I don't see any reason why Dayshi is going to lose this game. I mean, yeah, he's up against TvT, but right now all signs pointing to Dayshi winning this. He's got the edge supply-wise, he's got the edge SCV-wise. He just needs to get that 4th expansion down. Let's take a look at the units right now. There are 16 siege tanks for TvT. He has the siege tank lead, but Dayshi has more Hellbats, so it kind of evens out a little bit. Dayshi also has more Thors as well. And if we look through some more of these tabs here, we can see the units lost have been pretty close this game. Spending has been pretty identical as well. Upgrades, we can see that TvT has spent a little bit more at his for his other upgrades, you know, Blue Flame and Cloak. But when you're in Hellbat mode, Blue Flame really doesn't do anything. There's no difference. And here we go, big attack coming in. It looks like a couple of medevacs for Dayshi trying to drop off some units behind the tank lines, but the medevac couldn't make up its mind, so the medevac gets taken out. So the northern battle goes south for Dayshi, but the southern battle going north for him. He's actually going to be able to win this fight on the bottom. Unfortunately for him, though, he doesn't have any more siege tanks, And I think that's you know, that's a function of him losing that medevac. If he had been able to drop that medevac with the tank and the Hellbat behind tank lines, he probably would have been able to done a ton of damage. He probably would have killed off 2 or 3 tanks at the very least. Unfortunately, that was not accomplished. And now all of a sudden, TvT with map control in the middle, thinking about sieging up the outskirts of Dayshi's expansion. And Dayshi, I think, in a lot of trouble here. He needs to be careful. He doesn't have any siege tanks. And TvT is just going to set up a total contain. And this expansion finding itself completely naked. Nothing that Dayshi can do about it, but he is going to try to push out right now. And dropping off medevac troops, paratroopers behind the siege tank lines, trying to take advantage of the friendly fire damage that siege tanks do to each other. And not a bad job right there from Dayshi. Picks up a couple more tanks, gonna drop them behind these tanks as well. Very nice micro by Dayshi. But unfortunately, as nice as his micro is, I don't think it's enough to overcome the macro advantage of TvT. TvT was able to take out the expansion in the bottom left-hand corner. All the SCVs are scattering to the wind right now. And I think that TvT might just have this game in the bag now. All of a sudden, the tables turn just like that. That's what happens when you play against TvT, I guess. You know, he just held on. He had that extra base for a little bit longer, and now he's on 5 bases. I mean, a 5-base Terran is like, lol, unstoppable. So I don't know what Dayshi can do now, but his SCVs are obviously trying to flee the scene, but they're leaving a cookie crumb trail to the top right expansion. And I think TvT's got to realize now, hey, there's something going on in the northeast corner. Meanwhile, a couple more medevacs trying to drop off troops behind the tank lines. And, you know, able to do a little bit, but not much. Not much. And I think TvT, at any moment now, will probably secure this game. I mean, just look at the constant stream of reinforcements coming out from his bases. I mean, it's just a continual onslaught. And you can see, like, his upgrades are pretty high up there as well. You know, 1-3 right now. Just looking at the Terran army on the other side of the map, it's at 1-2. So, yeah, it looks like TvT's got this game in the bag, pushing in with everything he's got. And Dayshi now will probably have to GG. He's at 75 supply, under 150. A huge supply disadvantage for Millennium's Dayshi. And TvT is going to win this game, I think, which is going to force Millennium to throw up the next player, unless they choose to use a revive on Dayshi. I think Millennium will probably have to throw up the next player, and I'm hoping we're going to see 4GG. If 4GG comes out, prepare yourselves for an even more epic Terran versus Terran. Can't wait to see that. But you know what? Dayshi's still holding on here. He hasn't given up yet. Even though his buildings are burning, his forces are just a ragtag band of, you know, remaining Terran units. I think once this expansion goes down, Dayshi will realize how far behind in the hole he is. And here comes these Hellbats, Napalm Spray activated, SCVs and mules just trying to run away! And it looks like the Hellbats there taking time to transform into Hellion mode to chase these SCVs and mules down, and they do go down. So, the game continues to fall further and further out of control here for Dayshi. What is TvT going to do? He's controlling the middle of the map right now, just kind of keeping his forces in Hellion mode. But, you know, this army is just so many tanks and Hellions. I'm looking at the entire units tab. He's got 17 tanks and 6 Hellbats and 24 Hellions. I mean, just I think his 18 tanks, 19 tanks alone could probably win this game at this point. But Dayshi isn't giving up, so I'll give him credit there for hanging on. Here comes a drop with 2 Hellbats. Now we're going to try to get a little bit of damage done. Meanwhile, another Hellbat drop actually occurring at one of the other expansions. But this is just kind of superfluous damage. I mean, it's really just cosmetic. TvT's core army is already on the field. He doesn't even really need to replenish it. And look how many... it's a 2-shot to kill off a command center, apparently, when you have this many siege tanks with +3 weapons. The SCVs and mules have nowhere to run. They just evaporate like a fine mist. And, yeah, I think TvT's got this game. He's going to get the first victory for Team Liquid. Look at dropping quadruple comsat here. So many comsats. I'm just getting dizzy looking at it. Alright, so GG. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoyed. And stay tuned. We're going to have Game 3 of this series coming up. No, Game 4 of this series, I believe, coming up next. So, yeah, stay tuned, guys. I'll see you guys then. And this is HD, signing out.